What's up, y'all? What is up? What is up? What is up? What is up? We are here. Oh, y'all already been here. Y'all already been here. Damn. Okay, I see y'all. I see y'all. I'm let some more folks get in here while I do a little bit more preparations. Um Let me actually throw this up there. Uh where's that one? Oh. Throw this up there real quick while we wait for folks to get in here. You know, folks be a little late. Folks be a little late. So we're gonna give folks a little chance to get on up. Get on up now. To get on in here. Come on over and join this little gang of intellect seekers, knowledge seekers, and information bloodhounds. I see y'all. While we're waiting, how about y'all put in the comments where you're hitting us up from. By the way, I have shows that are going down in Detroit. In June. So I'm gonna post those links any day now. I'll probably post them tomorrow. So that's happening. So shout out to the D. I'll be out there and looking forward to connecting on the ground with my people in the D. Okay. All right. So let me just do this last little thing. Okay. So here we are. We got folks hitting us up from El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora Reina de Los Angeles del Río Porciuncula, aka Los Angeles. We got Bay Area. Someone asked if I'm coming to the East Coast. Yes, if you go to amandaseals.com. Oh, hold on one second. That's not what I meant to put up. If you go to amandaseals.com, you can get your tickets. I'll be in Fort Worth on March 12th through the 14th. I'll be in Stamford, Connecticut. April 12th through the 14th, Stamford, Connecticut, April 27th, Baltimore, and Boston in May. I will be in Detroit in June, and we're working on some dates across the world. We're working on dates in London. We're working on dates in Toronto. We're working on dates in New York, in Bay Area. The Bay Area, sorry. We're working on dates in DC. So shout out to everybody out there. Before we get started, let me do a little bit of housekeeping. So first and foremost, I have this right here. Please put up a fist if you like something if you like something that's said. Also, if you watch this or if you are watching this on YouTube, I am asking kindly that you try to watch at least 20 minutes because that is what YouTube algorithm responds to. And I just feel like these are the types of videos that I would hope that we're able to get pushed through the algorithm. Even if you have to walk away, just like leave your computer open. And if you are watching this on YouTube, please, leave a comment with the timestamp of something that impacted you or that you felt like maybe that you want to add information to, et cetera, et cetera. So, that is very, very helpful as well. Also, if you want to support, please make sure you get supers. Those are very helpful. Remember, I do this for free on my time. And if you want to even extend your love even more, you can subscribe to my Patreon. My Patreon is theamandaverse.com, or you can subscribe to my Patreon by just going to Patreon, Amanda Seals, and you can join the Seal Squad. And we just added a new tier. So you'll be able to support for $12 a month. You get a bunch of stuff, as well as you get the videos of Small Doses Podcast. We're no longer putting full videos up for Small Doses Podcast on YouTube. Those will be available only on my Patreon. And I'll also be putting up like full hours of my stand-up from my shows across the nation, or across the world, I should say, as well as we'll also be posting my vlog series, Amanda on the Move, that I'm so excited about because I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. And I edited the episodes myself. I think you guys are really going to like it. So looking forward to that. Last but not least, also remember to listen to, first of all, before I go to last but not least, remember to sign up for my newsletter. Listen, these algorithms be funny style. They will put you in an echo chamber. They'll put you in fucking timeout. They will put you in, they'll shadow ban you. And so the only way to really kind of like get directly to y'all is for this newsletter thing to be going down. So make sure you sign up for the newsletter at amandaseals.com. And now, last but not least, make sure you listen to my radio show, The Amanda Seals Show, every day, wherever you get your podcasts and in select cities. Okay. So we got things to discuss tonight. All right. We got this right here, my issue with Shaun King. I know people are like, oh, what is her problem with him? Why does she have a problem? What is her problem? And I'm going to say it one time and one time only. And it's going to be tonight. Cop City takeover, very bonkers mononkers. And I feel like a lot of people are not really understanding the extent to which the Cop City, that's actually not completely wrong. The Cop City takeover is happening. And so I want to talk about that and just give you all a little bit more information on what that is really, what that really is. Also, we are going to talk about this Trump bloodbath statement that just went down. And you're probably like, what do you mean a Trump bloodbath statement? And that's exactly why you need to sit right here and don't go nowhere. And if we get a little bit more time, I'll talk about some pop culture with Billy Porter, basically saying that he didn't see he's playing James Baldwin in a movie, in a film that he is, I think, directing. I know he's starring in it. I can't remember if he's directing and writing or just doing one or the other. But his statement about it was a bit disconcerting as a huge James Baldwin fan. So we're going to get into that if I have time. Okay. If I have time, but, so I'm not going to start with the Shaun King stuff. So just letting you know that right now. So what else do we want to start? Let's start actually. Let's start with this crazy man. Let's start with this crazy man. What's it called? Donald Trump, and this statement that he made, which is very, very disconcerting and frightening. So he was at a rally, and he, is there with all his MAGA lights, and they're all wearing their little hats, and, rah, rah, shish, boom, bah. And he said something that, for somebody who is indicted in like a number of places, who is literally, who people are still trying to keep off the ballot because of their involvement in January 6th. I just saw this, and I think it's really, let me just also contextualize the fact that all of this is happening under the guise of a Democratic Senate and a Democratic president. And it's still just same with the TikTok ban. Just remember, TikTok ban, Israel trying to buy TikTok, all that happening. So when we say that, we have to remember that is important to acknowledge, because some of you all are diehard Democrats. But if the Democrats are behaving like Republicans, then we need to be diehard something else and figure out how to shift that into something else. And if you don't think that's possible, remember, the Democrats and Republicans were shifted before, because of their stance on issues, and that ended up shifting. None of this shit is permanent. So often we act like it is because it may have been that way since we've been born, etc. But the end of the day is shifts can happen. So let me just say that. Now let me show you this video. Come on, where is this video? I definitely downloaded it, computer. Like, quit playing with me. Quit playing with me, computer. Okay.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath.
Do I need to play it again?
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath.
Y'all, he said, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. There's no euphemism for bloodbath. You understand me? Like, you know, if someone says like, oh, I'm about to go blow this shit up, and they're going to the bathroom to like do a really massive bowel movement, like that's a euphemism, that's a colloquialism. Like, bloodbath is not a euphemism. You feel me? So when I hear that and people are cheering that, you have to take that seriously. You have to take it seriously. You cannot be casual about that. You simply can't. Now, the Biden administration has already like released a statement, and I have it right here so we can take a look at it. Okay. Tonight, Donald Trump said there would be a bloodbath if he wasn't elected, and that if he lost, there would be no more elections. I didn't see that part. After opening the general election by meeting with authoritarian leaders and rallying alongside conspiracy theorists, Donald Trump continues to praise dictators, promise to pardon political violence, and launch racist attacks against Black and brown Americans. It's why last night, Trump's own former vice president, Mike Pence, who Trump supporters called to hang for not overturning the election, came out against Trump. This is who Donald Trump is. A loser. I need to make myself bigger so y'all can see my face while I'm reading this. This is who Donald Trump is. A loser who gets beat by over 7 million votes, and then instead of appealing to a wider mainstream audience, doubles down on his threats of political violence. He wants another January 6th, but the American people are going to give him another electoral defeat this November because they continue to reject his extremism, his affection for violence, and his thirst for revenge. Y'all, they call this y'all, they call him a loser. I mean, that's exactly the language that he uses. But I'm gonna get to this later. But you all and this divide people thing, you sound silly because you use it for literally everything. You literally consider calling out a spade, division. You call saying, I don't rock with this person, division. You call saying, I don't support this legislation, division. Like, everything is not division. And when you say, guys, we're falling into the trap, it's a tactic. Whether or not you like Trump, he's right. There will be a bloodbath. This is an attempt to divide people when this election goes sour. How was that an attempt to divide people? How? I don't understand how that's an attempt to divide people. The people are already divided, bro. They're already divided. Like in like a myriad of ways. In a myriad of ways. It's not even just like, oh, like a casual division. No, the people are divided in a myriad of ways. This is not a monolith. There are so many different divisions in terms of uh your politics, your ethnicity, your gender, your values, whether you think it was who was better, Pac or Big. Like there's so many divisions. This country is built on division, literally. So when you say that, I'm like, I don't know what you mean, because you're saying like, let's unite around what? Let's unite around what? There are people who want him to win, and there are people who don't. That is considered division. Everybody is never on the same page for a myriad of reasons. One, everybody doesn't even have access to the page. Two, everybody doesn't even have the ability to read what's on the page. Three, everybody doesn't have the capabilities of acting upon what they have seen on the page. That's just three. I can give you a laundry list of reasons why everybody will never be on the same page. And when we talk about unite, there's so many different reasons why people will get behind a single issue. Like we can't even get people along the same lines of agreeing with who is agreeing to who is Black. So when we talk about unite, we have to remember you don't need everybody to have a movement. You just need people who gonna move. And that's what we need to understand. That's it. So I just need to call that out. Okay. I think that it's also thank you, Ada. I think it's also just incredibly important that we are educating ourselves around the way government works, the way government operates. It's not as basic as just Trump and Biden. There are levers to pull. There are different efforts that are being done. We are seeing in real time the equalizing of Republican and Democrat. We're seeing it in real time because we're like, oh shit, we didn't even know, the vast majority of folks didn't even know about AIPAC and Israel's involvement in our legislation, etc. Like, we didn't know that there was such a very, very, very clear thread running through the Democrats and Republicans. Like, there have always been people who have said they're the same because they white. They're the same because they have centrist values by and large. They're the same because they're basically insider trading and they are able to invest in stocks, even though they're on committees that determine how the SEC runs, et cetera, et cetera. So like all of those things are real. However, in this time, it is imperative that in order to understand how to actually challenge these systems, that we learn how these systems work. You can watch my documentary, In Amanda We Trust. You can watch the myriad of documentaries that are on Netflix and, you know, all these streaming platforms. You can go to YouTube University. It's just really, really important. And yes, as Be More Fighter 20 points out, women lost Roe v. Wade while Democrats were in office. Like, this happened. This happened, and this happened because Obama did not stack the court. He chilled with the Supreme Court. Ruth Bader Ginsburg didn't leave when she should have taken her ass out of there. Like, we cannot underappreciate how many elements there are to this in order to really address it for real. And I'm speaking to myself as well. I'm speaking to myself because it's taken me so long to really, really understand this and to be willing to bring myself to a place of humility to take in the fact that I don't know. So I had to first humble myself and be willing to like be a student in order to learn the system that I want to dismantle. Like, that's something that in America we have to do for ourselves because this country teaches us that we don't have to do that. This country teaches us American exceptionalism. This country teaches us that we don't need to know anything. This country lies to us about our intellect. It lies to us about our smarts. It lies to us about ourselves. It does. These other countries, they have education systems that are far more superior. You have to make the decision to say, okay, I can no longer be passively educated. I need to be intentionally educating. And sometimes people don't want to admit that to themselves. And it's like, what are you saving then? Your pride? I don't know how valuable that is if they don't value you. So I just, I get so passionate about this because I know how much it's changed me since I really committed myself to learning. I know how much it's changed me. I mean, literally, like at my bedside. Okay, the cleaning lady like really cleaned up. She put everything over there, but like I mean, I bought like the Constitution for Dummies. I try my best now to like listen to audible books about just the things that I feel like I missed out on. I mean, yeah. So we can, yeah. So to answer this question, I don't think it's avoidable because no matter, it's the question of are we gonna crash and are the airbags gonna deploy or not? But we're gonna crash because Biden and Trump are the options, and both of them are a fucking train wreck. I gotta stop cursing so much. Both of them are a train wreck. So that's really what it is. Um, and yes, Brianna Chambers, I have a master's in African American studies. You know how many holes there are in my scholarship? So many, because there's so much. Yes, you choose. There's so much to learn. But I think that's why it's really important too that we have spaces like this. When you all talk to each other in the chat, etc. You engage, you entertain, but you also inform each other, etc. And I think that's really incredibly important because a lot of us don't really have our own circle of intellects. I talked about this on another video before, and I really mean that shit. Like I really mean it. Like you have to have people around you that you can have like real conversations with and learn. So, I really appreciate that, Aubrey. And thank you to those who have bought supers. I really appreciate y'all because when you buy the supers and you support, even if it's with $5, you're saying that like this place is valuable. Like you're learning, and we all know that knowledge is power. So let's get into this. But I also am curious though, like you can put it in the comments, like when you see this man say it's going to be a bloodbath, what do you think that translates to in real life? What is that? When you hear that, right? When you hear that.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath.
What does that look like for y'all? So we got Black Boys Inc. said riot. Ginger said violence. Earth said civil war. Incitement. What else? An actual war. People storming the street. I mean, this just sounds like when the Eagles win in Philly. Like that's what it sounds like. I think this is probably the biggest one for me that I think is gonna really happen because they're already gearing up. They're already gearing up, and you just start seeing more and more stories like this. Why are y'all like this? Insurrection Part 2, Electric Boogaloo Boy Square. Why y'all like this? Why are y'all like this? Thank you, L. Anger. So a lot of y'all said violence. That's what you think. Activating lone wolves. Ooh, that's a big one. Activating lone wolves is a big one. Because that's really like, they're not really lone wolves because they are a part of a cult of personality. So Tiffany said, I'm worried that in reaction, we're going to give Biden too much power, thinking we're preventing something, but then we're setting dangerous precedents. I agree, Tiffany, because when you say, okay, we need to be able to hold these people accountable, et cetera, you get so much pushback. You get so much pushback. Like, you get people that are like, no, you can't say that. You can't say that. And it's like, why? Why can't we say that? You know? So I think that it's gonna be, don't call me cutie pie. I think that it's gonna be something that we all need to be prepared for. That I do know. I think this is actually one that I think is very concerning. More attacks on marginalized communities. And we have to understand that marginalized communities is not simply just like Black and brown communities, right? That's trans folks, that's gay folks, that's even disabled folks. Like, I mean, we're seeing, and I just saw another autistic young man who was murdered in cold blood by the police the other day. Like, it's just, it's really disheartening. And it's only getting more momentum with, this guy saying,
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
you understand me? So there's that. All right, well, let's talk about real quick. I want to get into this Cop City takeover because I don't think enough people understand what Cop City is. So if you're watching with us live right now, can you in the comments, give me a yes or a no on how much you know about Cop City and what you know about Cop City? Because that will let me know how much I need to even speak about Cop City. Ryan Grainer is a young 15-year-old who was having a mental health episode. He had picked up a garden tool. His parents felt like they couldn't control him and they were concerned he was going to get violent. They called the police and, the police came. And of course, in true police fashion, they claimed that he was coming towards them with a garden tool. And they shot him in cold blood in front of his sister in their family home. And I am just so, first of all, the police being involved in things is always, just, it's like, I feel like if I was under threat of violence, I don't think I would call the police. Like, I don't think I would call the police. Like the security company might call the police if someone breaks into my house, but like me, Amanda, like I don't believe I would call the police. I would get my gun. I mean, I say that sitting here now, not under the threat of danger, but I never feel like they're safe. And I know that we've seen these stories before with people who, have children, young Black children who are, dealing with mental health issues and not feeling like they know how to deal with that. But it's like, for me, just I just wish there was more options for people to be able to call when something like this happens, because we know that when it comes to Black people, police do not think about protecting first. They don't. They simply do not. So to think that they're going to protect your child, you're calling them to protect you, they're not even going to protect you. So there's that. So Cop City is, so I'm looking at these comments and, kind of like what you guys are saying. And it seems like a lot of people kind of don't really know about Cop City. So this is a quick little primer. So Cop City is basically these like militarized training grounds that they're building all over the nation, in order to literally militarize the police. And it is the biggest one that people have really been energized about has been in Atlanta. There's been a lot of protesting in Atlanta around the Cop City that's happening in Atlanta. And they are protesting on a number of levels, right? So they're not only protesting about simply just the police presence and the funding of police on such an extreme level, and of course the militarization of police, but they're also protesting the fact that in Atlanta they're cutting down an actual forest in order to build Cop City. And they literally killed a activist who was a peaceful activist that was like trying to, take a stance for the nature, for the wildlife, and they killed this person in cold blood. The police did, and nobody, of course, is being held accountable for this. um there's just no real um there's no real method being taken to say like, okay, this was wrong. And it's very frightening to me that this is just like a par for the course that's happening, because I feel like a lot of people are not really aware. They're not really like alert to the importance of why we have to stand against this, because I think so many of us have been really trained to think that like cops are okay and policing is okay. But here's the other part of it. Why would a nation want to invest so much in their police like why would a nation want to invest and so much in their police if they care about their citizens, when we see that they want to militarize the police? Who would they be protecting? So I'm sorry that this does not look good, so I'm going to fix this up. So I want to show y'all this Cop City image, because I really want y'all to just see um how prevalent these cop cities are going to be across the nation. It is really a response to 2020 and the BLM uprisings. That is what this is in response to. They basically saw people get together. They saw people say, no, we will not stand for this. And they said, okay, we got y'all. And we're going to shut all of this shit down. That's what they're doing. They're saying, we see this and we don't want this. Even though it is our First Amendment, I don't know if it's the First Amendment, but we do have a right. We have a right to protest. But in this country, you notice that they basically are like, nah, every time. Every time. So when you see these cop cities that are coming up all over the nation, you have to ask yourself, what is the actual goal here? Why would they be building all of these places that are going to train police? Why is that absolutely a priority in a nation that can't or claims that it can't do away with college loans? It claims that we can't find money for universal health care. It claims that we can't tax the wealthy. So why do we have money for this? And now, don't get me wrong, I'm not even talking on a federal level. These are happening in different states. So like they've already broke ground on one in Tennessee. Apparently there was another one that was going to be built here in California in San Pablo, but it didn't like get the funding. And they are still moving forward with the one in Atlanta, even though there's constant protesting. And let me also add, these are not Republicans who are doing this. It's not solely Republicans that are doing this. Like in Atlanta, it's an all Black Democratic government. Yes. In Atlanta, it's an all Black Democratic government that is saying, yeah, we want this. Because at the end of the day, it really comes down to money. Am I bugging? At the end of the day, it really comes down to money. That's just what it is. And I have been trying this whole time while I'm talking to be able to bring up this image from Cop City, and it really is like playing with me. Like, why is it doing this? Why is it doing this? I don't know why it's playing with me. So I want y'all to go look, but I'm gonna just talk about it from what I'm looking at. Okay, so you got Cop Cities, six. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in Washington, 5 in Washington. There's supposed to be like within Alabama, 2, 1 in Louisiana, 1 in Mississippi, 1 in Florida, and they're all in different phases. Okay, they're all in different phases. So the Wyoming and North Dakota and Vermont seem to not have any planned, but under construction, you got Kansas, Wisconsin, Indiana. You got several in New York, New Jersey, New Hampshire, Florida, Georgia, Arkansas, Tennessee, Louisiana, Mississippi. All of these are under construction. But y'all, did you even know that there's a whole bunch that are open? Idaho, Montana, Iowa, Illinois, Arizona, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Maine. All of these have Cop Cities, Michigan, that are currently open and functioning. They're training to be able to suppress in order to oppress. Yeah, so that's the thing. Okay, Karina, because I wasn't sure what the final thing was on San Pablo. So there's California. Ding, 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 ding. Mm-hmm. So, it's like, I know so many of us are like, so what do we do? What do we do? You look at other countries, and like the way that people are politicized as a part of their culture is very different than here. When you see protests in like Brazil, in Indonesia, in China, etc., it's massive. Everybody's out there because everybody knows. Everybody's interested. Everybody talks about it in their regular conversations. Here, we are still in the beginning phases of what we would be able to shift. Because when we talked earlier about like, oh, we need to unite people, you know what the number one thing is that we need to unite people to do? We need to unite people to care. Mm-hmm. We need to unite people to care, because we don't have a culture of caring in this nation, let alone a culture of caring for each other. So people are so confident in their own individualism, which has been the goal and the concerted effort, that they are only now starting to little by little wake up and say, gosh, maybe the only way that my life could be better is if I care about if that person's life is better, and now we both have the same interest and we can work together for that better. And so once that starts to become more part of our culture, people teach their children that. And then you start having generations. So when I talk about this, I don't want to sound defeatist, but I feel like this current state that we're in, there just isn't enough of that. And I agree, Rosability, that white supremacy absolutely keeps us siloed. It's been so cool at my shows lately where I have like an audience that is largely Black, but then now I have like a lot of more Arab people coming into my audience, and I'm individually getting to be a bridge to these, two groups, and in a space where we can have levity and gravitas at the same time. And I think that that's something that I really like didn't even see coming, and I didn't even set out to do, but I think that it is very, real. This is such an odd question to ask me. Do I see myself becoming a martyr? I don't think I would be that lucky. I think I'm actually going to live a really long time, and it's going to be annoying. If we're being honest, I genuinely think that. Like, I genuinely think I'm gonna be 80 years old. Like, oh my God, I'm still here with y'all. This is a mess. Damn. I'm gonna be like, let me be an ancestor. Please, let me be an ancestor, y'all. That's how I think it's gonna go down. So, since you asked. Um, so I think that that's just kind of the reality for where we are now. I think that's the reality for where we are now. I think the biggest thing we can do is educate ourselves on not just information, but also like on our hearts, and really work on changing the culture of caring. And you're like, well, what does that even mean? How often do you look around to see if someone needs help? Do you do that? Like, do you have a consciousness about that? How often do you volunteer? How often do you just extend yourself? How often do you compliment somebody? You know, because you might be like, Amanda, I have 5 kids. Like, I got a whack ass baby daddy. Like, I don't got time. And it's like, okay, but when you pick up your kids, can you give someone a compliment that makes their day? Um, you know, like, I know that all of us have our bad days, we have our bad moments, we have our stank moments. Like, I'm not talking about that, but it's just the effort to consider others is not enough about this. Like, our nation is not enough about that. And I completely understand that, Libby. I know. I mean, it's just even being thoughtful about that, right? Even being thoughtful, like, I will like be looking around like, why isn't there a ramp here? Why isn't there a ramp for this? How would somebody be able to get up here? Like, that's something that I feel like is a consciousness raising that I've gotten from following folks on Instagram who really center this conversation. And if you have any suggestions for people that do center that conversation, that you can tell people to follow, whether on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube, I would love if you could put that in the chat. Not just you, Libby, but anybody, because we have to expand our consciousness about not just like ourselves and other people, but just like the other things that people are dealing with. So, like, that's the thing that I think is really important. Um and like, even just this right here. So, just wishing a Muslim happy Ramadan can really uplift their spirits, right? Ramadan Mubarak. Like, you know, Ramadan Kareem. And even like trying to acknowledge other cultures. Like, in America, we just don't do that. We don't do that in America. We really are like very self-involved about that. And like, right now it's also Persian New Year, Nowruz. Like, we know Chinese New Year just passed. Like, there's so many Ada, you a fool. There's so many people in this country that make this country. Like, on Cinco de Mayo, don't be going up to Mexicans and saying happy Cinco de Mayo, because they do not care. Cinco de Mayo is a holiday for white people to go drink. That's really what it is. That's really what it is. Yeah. So, just just saying. Um and I think it's just like, I just know that I've had Mexicans be like, Cinco de Mayo is not really a thing for us. But, gracias. See? They're like, what Cinco de Mayo really is? It's Cinco de Mayo. Because that is for white people. Cinco de Mayo is actually Cinco de Mayo, because it really is not about Mexicans. It is all about the whites. Facts. Cracking myself up. Cracking myself up. Cracking it up. Cracking it up. I'm going to say that on stage. I'm really proud of that one. Oh, no, that was good. That was good. Please look in the chat. We got folks that are saying about people that you can follow to expand your consciousness and awareness around disability in in our legislation, or the lack thereof of supporting disabled people in spaces, et cetera, et cetera. What's it called? Okay, yes. So that was my next question. One of the days and times most Mexicans do hold most there is Dia de los Muertos. Remember me. Y'all don't understand how much I love Coco. When I tell y'all Coco is my movie, Coco is my film. I might watch Coco tonight. Remember me. Listen, like Dia de los Muertos, that is the day after Halloween, right? The Day of the Dead. Listen, Maxine, every time. Every time. I remember being on a flight and the lady next to me was watching it, and I was like, I'm just letting you know that you're gonna cry. And so I'm right here. I'm a shoulder to lean on when you cry. She was like, I'm sure I'll be fine. Thank you. Listen, honey was right here. Oh my God, you were right. I was like, come on, lay your head on my shoulder. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Okay, so Dia de los Muertos is November 1st and the 2nd. November 1st and the 2nd. My mom will basically send me like holiday stuff for literally every holiday. So like I get Chinese New Year stuff every year. She sent me like like literally like this. I can't even. The frame is not even wide enough. Like this long Mardi Gras woman, like in a dress. I'm not from New Orleans. Like I have Dia de los Muertos stuff that she be expecting me to put up. I'm like, when am I doing this? When am I decorating the house with this stuff? When? Please. So there you go. So I want y'all to educate yourself on Cop City. I want you to educate yourself on if there's a Cop City in your vicinity. And then the next thing I want you to do is to find out if there are any organizations who are bringing awareness and who are challenging actively that Cop City. And I'm going to say this every time I do these lives. Whatever issue you think is wrong, there is already somebody who is mobilizing for that issue. I promise you, whatever issue that you're like, oh, this is preposterous. Somebody has already, okay? Somebody has already mobilized. They may have only mobilized themselves. They maybe have only mobilized, digitally on social media. They may have only mobilized a small group of people. Then they need you. So you have to actively be like, okay, who's out here doing this? People be like, Amanda, what do you do? I do this. Okay, that's what I do. I do this. I do this. I act. I perform. I create content that seeks to engage, empower, enlighten. I do stand-up comedy. I have a podcast. I'm currently writing my next book. I am also writing a one-woman show. I produced a documentary last year. I self-produced a documentary last year. I do Smart, Funny, and Black, which is a live pop culture comedy game show. I create shows. I was on the iconic TV show Insecure. I was on the iconic TV show My Brother and Me on Nickelodeon. I was on, it was maybe only one episode, but I was still on the iconic show, the Blackish. Like I have dedicated my artistry and my creativity to the empowering and the um not just the empowering, but also like the re the revitalizing of folks who feel drained from being so aware of how much is being taken from them every day by, souls that are just bereft of humanity, right? Yeah, I was in Cop and a Half. That's a cult classic too. So I say all that to say that, people will come at me and say, Shaun King has done so much for so many people. What do you do? And one of the things that I want to point out is that activism as a space is kind of tricky. It's a tricky space because ultimately it's not really something that a lot of people can kind of rest their hat on as a job, like as their actual like full-time job. In order to do that, they require the support of donations, of funding, etc. They require the way to have profit, projects, and they require projects, and they can also make earnings by writing about their work, etc. So it's not lost on me that that space in general is just a precarious space to own as a full-time job. When people try to say to me, Amanda, what do you do? I say, well, my full-time job is creating. And I manage to also activate through my creating. Shaun King is not a creative. I know that he, to my understanding, is a journalist and has written, in that space, but ultimately he is a full-time activist, so to speak, because I don't know that he is an organizer in the traditional sense of the word. Now, many people would say, well, there's those social media is a space, and he's organized so many people on social media to really get behind things and be educated about things. And I think that there's something incredibly important about that and valuable. But I think there's also something to understand around the ways in which people do that. If you are using other people's content and then labeling it as your own. Now, I will not lie. Sometimes I'm trying to post something so fast I forget to tag somebody, etc. So that is something that definitely can happen. But if you remembered to take someone's content and then watermark it with your own name, then that to me is disingenuous. So when you hear me make references to like, I had said Aslama Scammum, like I am not speaking about the money scamming because, to be perfectly honest, I haven't even dedicated enough of my life to like confirming that. But I know that there are people that I consider reputable who absolutely stand 10 toes down on his dishonesty around funding. And, at this point, I'm like, well, I have to take their word until I can do my own research. So when I say scamming, I'm not referring to that. What I'm referring to is the feeling of disingenuousness around the ways in which he carries out his activism. And so that's one, in terms of like, if you're going to repurpose content and you're going to watermark it with your own name, that alone to me is scam, because that's saying that this is something that I made. That's saying that this is something that I produced. This is something that I, have created. And it simply is not. That is not true. That is not true. And I think it's important to acknowledge when people whose literal career is based on them being a conduit of the truth, when they're not being truthful. I think that's really important. And I'm not saying that people haven't been caught in situations where they have to kind of like, I'm not saying that people don't make mistakes, etc. But I think there's also something that's very important when people are actively doing something that people are telling them, hey, this is not okay. And they're like, well, I'm still going to do it anyway. Now, the second thing is this. A lot of times y'all will be like, oh, Amanda Seals, you're saying this about Shaun King, you're saying that about Shaun King, you're saying this about that person, that's about that person, et cetera, et cetera. Me and y'all don't run in the same circles. Um, in the Venn diagram, we're like this, I don't know yo peoples. I don't know yo peoples. But over here, there's also a bunch of peoples that I'm able to have access to that y'all don't know. Like so it's like when I'm speaking about things, I am oftentimes not simply just speaking about like the headline. I'm speaking from a place of my own personal encounters. Now, there have been 2 times where Shaun King either didn't like something I said, that referenced him, or he felt like I was I guess that's the best way to say it. He didn't like something I said that referenced him. And so he absolutely sicked his audience on me. One time he did this for 3 days. He did this for 3 days. He literally told his audience, y'all need to go get Amanda. Y'all need to go set her straight. And his audience is not coming at you with respect or regard. They are like mercenaries for this man, and they are coming at you with the nastiness. Khaled Beydoun's people did the same thing to me on his page. I followed him for 3 days, and that was it. Because I DM'd him and I said, your followers are coming at me crazy because I said that they are being, they're sounding precariously anti-Black in how they're addressing Black folks in their comments. And he was like, well, I don't have any control over that. And I mean, he just said that to a Palestinian who is in Gaza the other day, where like he literally is telling Khaled, like, your people are like sending me death threats because I asked you where the money is going. And you think Khaled Beydoun like came on and was like, hey y'all, like leave homeboy alone, like cut it out. You think that Shaun King was like, hey y'all, leave Amanda alone, cut it out. You've seen me do that though. You have absolutely seen me say to y'all, do not go in nobody comments cursing them out and talking all crazy on my behalf. Now, you could read somebody down, but do not go in there misrepresenting me. Don't. If I need to curse somebody out, I will do it myself. But I don't want y'all ever going out representing the SEAL squad looking like that. That's not how we do out here. We not on that. And so when that happened and I'm getting death threats, I'm getting you F this, you nasty. Because, they all try to outdo themselves because they feel like the harder they come at you, the more they're showing love for Shaun King. And when you are encouraging this behavior against someone else who is also doing this work, but also against another Black woman, simply because you didn't like something that they said, that to me is also an example of scamming, because you're presenting yourself as if you are, this like unifying force, but ultimately someone disagreed with you. And so you literally told your following to go and attack them. No, I don't think that is acceptable behavior, and I should not be expected to support someone who does that, who has put me in that situation multiple times and who has done that to a number of other Black women. There was a Black woman college student that challenged him on something, and he threatened her with the law. Like, I'm calling the cops, like, etc. I'm gonna sue you. So when you all say things like, Amanda, you calling out Shaun King, or you calling him this or that, that is divisive, etc. You have to step back and ask yourself, why is somebody that I trust saying this? I feel like what happens so often on this internet is that it's like there's no through line. It's literally like there's no through line. Like, y'all will literally, like, from video to video to video, change your opinion about somebody. And it's bizarre to me because it's like, well, why isn't there a track record that you're able to refer to say, oh, well, maybe I misunderstood this. Maybe, because this person has always shown up in this way, etc. I don't understand that, but it happens far too often. And I think that what's weird is that when it's the reverse, so it's someone like this person, Shaun King, I mean, he's had so many accusations against him, and people are like, it's fine, whatever. The accusations are variant. There's, it's not just about the money thing. It's about, attacking folks. Like I said, it's about him maybe not being completely genuine about his personal life and, like his recent reversion to Islam. Then we have this tour. And this tour is like, well, what's that really about? And someone literally said to me, well, you keep promoting your podcast and you keep promoting your comedy shows. Why can't he promote his tour? So I've come back to what I said in the beginning. I am a professional creative. I'm a professional creative. There's nothing wrong with promoting a speaking tour. But there is something that is absolutely disingenuous with promoting a speaking tour under the heading of Palestine. And you don't have a Palestinian centered. And it's happening during Ramadan as an event for iftar, which is the meal that happens at sundown during Ramadan after fasting all day. And you're not offering food to everybody. And I know some of you may say, well, he didn't necessarily, know the ins and outs of the event, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, yes, we do. Mm-hmm. You you have to be conscious about things like that, because if you're not, then what are you really even doing? I'll tell you. So I'm speaking at an event for Palestine on March 31st here in California. And the flyer, they have like a main flyer, but then they have like individual flyers that they're giving to everyone with like the information on it, but then they're like putting like your face for your individual flyer. And I said, I don't feel comfortable with that. I'll post the main flyer that has like everyone's names who are involved, but I don't feel comfortable with posting a flyer for the benefit that just has my face on it with the information. It just didn't feel right to me. Like I'm working on putting out some merch again, for Juneteenth. And it was suggested to me, oh, you should do a Palestine shirt. You should do a Palestine shirt. And if I can't figure out like an efficient way to make sure that the funds from the Palestine shirts go to a charity organization. And if you're like, well, why is it difficult? Because bookkeeping is difficult, accounting is difficult. And when you have multiple SKUs, like that means that if someone buys like a Smart Funny and Black shirt, a Smart Funny and Black hoodie, and then a Palestine shirt, then now someone has to go in and separate out. So like all of that is very particular. So like I'm like, oh, I would have to do that as a whole separate drop. Like I can't do that in the mix of things because I need to be transparent with people and I want people to absolutely know what it is. Now, someone asked this question, does he get credit for getting 10 toes down on his Instagram and getting disabled? He knew his Instagram was going to get disabled. So, okay, let me just ask you this. If they're telling you, if you keep doing this, we're going to disable your Instagram, why would you keep doing it if you know that your Instagram is literally like so many people's source of information? You would find a more clever way. You would find another method. And so when I see this, I'm just like, you're not Motaz. And for the record, also, they just take your stuff down. Like they don't talk to you about it. Like they don't like hit you up like, hey, so we're thinking about this. Like, nah, that was not the way that was presented. I've never in my life heard of anybody's Instagram ever being moved for or disabled and there being a conversation about it after the fact. So I don't know the true legitimacy of that. But literally, like, I just wanted to say these things because people ask me this because I am not a supporter. And they always come with, well, see, now you're being divisive. We don't have time for this right now. Everybody needs to get behind everybody. And I think that's an unfair expectation to ask of people who have put you in, situations that are simply just unkind. And it's always expected that you have to be the bigger person. It's always expected. Like, oh, you have to, no, you're gonna, Amanda, like, you need to just let him cook. And I'm gonna get my jokes off. The reality is that as long as we all know what we're about, the division is not gonna come because of being aware of who you rock with and who you don't. They're like, well, Amanda, this is like COINTELPRO. They're trying to divide the leaders. We don't need COINTELPRO to divide. The leaders divide themselves. Like right now, so many of the folks who are calling themselves leaders are really just trying to like be famous, or they're just not being upstanding folks. That's all it takes to create divide. Is just don't be 100. You do not need the FBI to do that work for you. It's already being done. So there are a lot of folks, though, who do have camaraderie, who are working together, who are in alignment. You saw Mark Lamont Hill on here with me the other day. I be doing these lives with folks all the time because there are definitely folks out here that are about that life. I have another In Amanda We Trust screening happening in Dallas on Sunday, April 14th, and we will have organizers from Dallas at the show to talk about what they do, to talk about the work that they're involved in, to talk about why it's important that, people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area are in support of them. Like, that is real. And if your value system about what you believe in is strong, it's not going to be divided because Amanda Seales doesn't rock with Shaun King for legitimate reasons, by the way. Like, that's not it. You simply have to understand for yourself, okay, well, and you could also be like, she don't like him, but I still do. And that's fine too. Don't be in my comments about it. Don't be in my comments about it. So I just wanted to really give clarity on that because I saw a lot of people asking the question and a lot of people really feeling very frustrated that their faves are not in alignment, etc. But the truth is that this is also a space where you got a lot of big personalities and you got a lot of folks that are in these spaces for various reasons. Even their route to these spaces has been very unique. And I know that my route has been one that I have like had in my heart for this time, but in the last few months, it's become a lot more deliberate and dedicated, and it will continue to do so. It will continue to do so. So I just wanted to get that clear and sharp because I know that that's something that a lot of people are bothered by. And if people ask you, well, what's Amanda Seales' issue? Now you can tell them. Okay? Now you can tell them. You can be like, well, her issue is because you saw me talk about it, and you can send them the link and give them the clarity that they need. Okay? So that's what I want. That's what I want from y'all. And that extends to the larger conversation about just like the grassroots of it all and us being better about community and us being better about spreading the word about things. In a way that is not just on this internet. Like, we have to get back to that. We got to get back to it. And it's not like what's the word I'm looking for? It's not like an esoteric thing. It's just a matter of saying like, okay, we gotta reconnect with the way that folks was working and how they were operating. So that's my thoughts. That's my thoughts, y'all. And I really appreciate y'all. I don't know if you saw the video I put up on my Instagram, but I really appreciate these spaces and that we've been able to cultivate these spaces. So thank y'all for really showing up and supporting them. You can also support Small Doses Podcast. We have new bonus episodes of Small Doses Podcast. Hey, Holly. Thank you, Holly. Great. Always supporting, always showing love. Small Doses Podcast now has bonus episodes every week that are available on Patreon. If you have listened to Small Doses Podcast bonus episodes, make sure to tell the people in the comments. Holly be there. I record them live, but you're able to listen to them at any time. And they kind of are just a more personal take on the things that are going on in the world and during, every week. So I have a good time doing them, and I really appreciate it. I really appreciate. I'm just very appreciative right now. I'm really appreciative. If I'm being honest, like I was on a break for the last week, and I needed it. I'll talk more about this on the Small Doses Podcast bonus episode, but I really needed it. And I need breaks more often now. It just is what it is. And so I'm really trying to really be honest with myself about that and commit to myself about that. And I started taking antidepressants and anxiety medication, and it's just been really, really helpful. And a really good friend of mine, when I told her that, she was like, "Oh, I had no idea. All you needed was praying hands and intentional prayer." And I was like, "I mean, that may work for you, but this is working for me right now. Thanks." So, support people in their efforts to really, try to take care of themselves. Support them. I knew for me, my chemical imbalance had become so just severe that it was like there's no amount of working out and meditation and float chambers that's going to bring this back unless I can take an extensive break. And I don't have the capabilities of taking an extensive break right now. It's just my reality. So I got on Lexapro, and it's just really allowing me to take back my clarity and feel just a lot more grounded in, my life and my movements right now. So I really, I'm not by any means advocating like y'all need to get on meds, but I just wanted to create a space of removing that stigma. Thank you so much, Karina. That's such a generous super that you provided. I just wanted to create some space to remove that stigma, because I know so many of us just really are afraid of what people will think of us for like what we feel like we have to do to take care of ourselves. And you got to do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do. So I am, for the first time since October 7th, I feel like myself. And that's like a big deal. Flow chambers. Someone said, what are flow chambers? Float chambers are these like, so I've seen them in like pods, but then I've also seen it'll be like a pool. And basically it's a sensory deprivation chamber that has like salt in it so that your body floats. And the idea is that it's completely silent. It's completely silent. It's completely dark. And it's supposed to like mimic you being back in the womb. But the idea is that it really like allows your nervous system to like truly, truly relax and, kind of reset. And I love you too, Aid. And so there's that. And I'm too claustrophobic to do it. Like if there's like a bigger room that I could do it in, I would love to do it. But like I've only seen in LA, like the only ones I've seen are pods. Like I've seen other versions in other places, but I've only seen pods. So it's literally, it's completely silent. It's completely dark. You're floating, so you're not really like actively like touching anything. You're kind of just like in the ether, I guess. So, there's that. Thank you so much, Keisha. I really appreciate you. Yeah, claustrophobic, like afraid of enclosed spaces. So like the pod, it's literally like you're like in the pod, and then they like close an egg, and it's like what I envision you would be put in to go to Mars. Like we're gonna put you in this little egg, and then when we land, in 5 years, we're gonna open the egg and you're gonna wake up cryogenically. Like that's how it feels. All right. Well, I did not get to Billy Porter, and it's already been an hour and 15 minutes. And if y'all saw how much clothes I got to put away, Child. I have so much work to do, and I'd be really acting like I only have these two things that I have to do today, and it's like you have like way more that you need to do. um, and yeah, so again, I want to remind y'all that I have tour dates coming up, and yes, I will be in Detroit July 21st June 21st and 22nd. I will post that link on Monday so that y'all can get your tickets. I need to be selling out these shows, and I need to be getting to my Black community, because the reality is that I'm in an echo chamber on Instagram, and they're like really not sending my stuff out to my Black community. So I'm having to really like actively like I literally am having to actively go and follow and like and bookmark like Black content pages, because that's how I'm going to like get around the echo chamber that the algorithm has put me in. It's crazy, y'all. Like, it's just a mess. But nonetheless, I just want to thank y'all so much. And I want to just remind you that Rose, someone on here said it earlier. I can't remember her name. It Rose something. Thank you, Hesh. One of the first things that I did that helped to kind of start changing my mind about things was I actively diversified my feed on Instagram. For you, if it's TikTok, if it's YouTube, whatever, I diversified my feed. You know, I used to really kind of only follow a lot of the same content, and I actively changed that. I started following news pages. I started following independent news pages. I started following pages of people who, you know, make it their business to break down the headlines and, you know, provide more information. You know, that type of stuff is something that you need to just be running into on a daily basis, just casually, when you're just like passively learning, let alone the stuff that you need to actively learn about, you know? So that was something that really helped me to just like expand my consciousness without even like truly sitting down and saying, okay, let me read this book. I am reading the book Manufacturing Consent. I've been reading it, and it is fabulous, and it will change your mind. So that's another one that you need to check out. It's Manufacturing Consent. And with that, Ramadan Mubarak. Everybody, all my Persian people, happy Nowruz. And the rest of us, what month is this? March? I guess it's St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. Y'all know I ain't wearing no green. If you listen to the Amanda Seales radio show, I am back this week. So shout out to my homeboy Supreme for holding us down. And, you know, I really appreciate everybody who listens to the Amanda Seales radio show. I think if you haven't, you should check it out wherever you get your podcasts. And you can also check it out in select cities. All right. You can go to theamandasealsshow.com to find out if we're in your city. Someone asked about what are 2 pages that I suggest following. So I did a YouTube live with writer David Heath, and he is really good for posting like important political videos that you know, will keep you up to date on kind of like what's going on in politics. It's also really good to follow, if on the politics side of things, Poly Alert, because they really just continuously source, you know, just like the latest, greatest, and worst videos from, you know, these political spaces across the nation. So not just on a federal level. I think it's also helpful to follow Mother Jones. Mother Jones is a page of it's independent journalism, and also Garrison Hayes is an incredibly smart and funny brother who's married to a Grenadian woman. And you can follow that page to get some more information. People are also putting really great pages here in the chat. Greg Stoker, his is I think his is Greg J. Stoker. We did a great YouTube live together with him. I see someone put Olorinati. That is Oluyemi Olarin. You can also check her on side effects of the prison pipeline on my podcast, Small Doses. Who else? Yeah, I mean, you just got a bunch. You just got a bunch. So get started with them. And when you start following them, if you let Instagram suggest people, then they will suggest more folks. And, that's how it works. And you just start really kind of just expanding. And Brianna Joy Gray, she's another one to check out. So, yeah, man, we got a lot of work to do. We got to set the world up to win even after we're gone, because I believe that we come back, and I hope that I can come back to a better place. So remember that we are each other's business. When we look out for each other, we lift each other up. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much if you made it this far. And please, if you liked any of the comments that were made here, please, put that in the chat. Can you timestamp it for folks so that they can just kind of go straight to it? And it also helps me when I edit these clips. So you guys are fab. And, no matter what happens, we're going to find a way to still fight. And we lose so many in the fight where, it is the inevitable, but there will always be a fight. Believe that. Night, y'all.